Consider for a moment that on this very device, the one you are using to watch this video, you have access to a nearly endless amount of information. Anything from cute cat videos to the most horrific workplace accidents is at your fingertips. I think that many people in the modern day take for granted just how lucky we are to be able to share information so freely, especially in America, where free speech is just a given. This is certainly not the case everywhere, and there are many examples throughout history of countries shutting down free speech for a supposed greater good. Detention is a game that showcases perhaps a lesser-known example of this, the time period in Taiwanese history known as the White Terror. The game manages to masterfully show us the horrifying reality of a brutal and oppressive government while also being uniquely Taiwanese, with it being deeply rooted in both Taiwanese history and culture. If you don't know very much about Taiwan, this video will not only discuss the game, but also some of the history required to understand it. Before I begin, spoiler warning for the game and a content warning for blood and death. To begin, we must first understand just a little bit of Taiwan's complex history. The island has been the subject of brutal colonization from many sources, including the Netherlands, China, Japan, and finally China again after winning back the island from Japan. This occupation was not graceful, and many Taiwanese citizens resisted. Desperate to maintain control over Taiwan, the Chinese government killed between 20 to 30,000 protesters in an event known as the 228 Massacre. Meanwhile, China was engulfed in a bloody civil war between the Nationalist Party under Chiang Kai-shek and the Communist Party under Mao Zedong. In the end, the Communist Party achieved victory, forcing the Nationalists to retreat to Taiwan in order to survive. Now, even more desperate to hold on to power, the nationalist government enacted martial law across Taiwan, meaning the country was effectively put under the direct control of the military. Laws were passed allowing for anyone suspected of being sympathetic to the Communist Party to be arrested, beginning the time known as the White Terror, a period where loyalty to the nationalist government was put above all else, for fear of losing China's last bastion of hope against the communists, where even something small could get you reported, thrown in jail, or even executed for anti-government activities. This sets the scene for the beginning of Detention, in which during a class, a military-looking official, Instructor Bai, pulls aside the teacher, Miss Yin. Being confronted by a military official was almost never pleasant, as it means you are in deep trouble. A question flashes on the screen. Miss Yin, have you seen this list before? We then awaken as one of the students, named Wei. All the other students have left. We begin to investigate where everyone has gone. On the ground we can find clues, such as an announcement. Due to our ongoing war with mainland China, Instructor Bai is asking students to rat out anyone who may be pro-communist or show signs of treachery. There are big rewards for informants. This poster gives us a big clue that the teacher, Miss Yin, was ratted out for something, hence why the military official is there. More clues like this will be scattered throughout the game, and it is our objective to find them. We then make our way to the auditorium, and to our surprise there is actually another student named Ray. We wake her up, and before leaving, we need to find her deer pendant, which is very important to her. We then attempt to make our way into town, but to our surprise, the bridge has collapsed, and the river runs red like blood. The atmosphere of the game thus far has been ethereal, almost like reality has become warped. Detention, if nothing else, masterfully uses setting to convey its message. The game is also filled to the brim with symbols and metaphors. Rivers are often symbolic of a barrier of sorts, not just physically but also spiritually. A Western example of this you might know is the river Styx, which in Greek mythology must be crossed to enter the afterlife. This bridge is a similar concept, relating to the Buddhist belief about the Bridge of Oblivion or the Japanese idea of the river Sanzu, in which spirits may not cross until their souls are at peace. The Red River taking the appearance of blood could also be representative of the fact that this story revolves around the death and destruction brought on by martial law and the White Terror. It is from the presence of this river we immediately know that this isn't just a regular storm. There is something deeply wrong. We are not just on a physical journey, but on a spiritual one. Realizing the futility of trying to cross the river, Wei and Ray head back to the classroom. Logically, Wei begins to look for a telephone to call for help when the world turns gray. The screen fades to black, and images flash our screen. Students, a gun, eyes. The gun is representative of the killings, which by the end of the White Terror numbered at least 4,000. Meanwhile, the eyes are representative of the watchful eyes of the government and fellow citizens. It is a trademark feature of authoritarian societies to encourage you to rat out your neighbors. This is done not only to root out traitors, but also to inspire fear and discourage any collaboration that could facilitate rebellion. After this series of images, we awaken in the auditorium, but this time we awaken as Ray, while Wei hangs from the ceiling. This experience is jarring, and Ray has no clue as to what could be going on. The suddenness of this could perhaps be reflective of how during the White Terror, people disappeared very quickly. There was almost never a lengthy trial. If you were suspected of being a traitor, your punishment was swift. Now, Ray is on her own and must find a way out of this mess. In the closet to the left, we find a rat in the vent, which is in reference to the rat who reported Miss Yin. There's also another clue that reads, "I heard a teacher started a book club for the students and are reading prohibited books," which gives us insight into what Miss Yin was arrested for. Continuing the search, near the collapsed bridge we find a tombstone and a note about the lingered, which are spirits that wander around because they cannot peacefully pass into the afterlife. Ray will have to face many of these spirits along her journey. Now, the last place to search is the school, where we find the telephone. It rings and Ray gets a message. "I am waiting for you in the counselor's office." What follows next is a series of puzzles. Making this more difficult are the symbols written on the walls which make it impossible for us to enter. Notably, a symbol on the door wouldn't prevent you or I from using it. These symbols were used to ward off spirits, which, if it wasn't clear already, means that right now, Ray is a spirit or ghost. Another part of these clues that we will need to find is piecing together what exactly happened to Ray herself. Near the end of the puzzles for this section, we will be confronted by a giant creature, which if you look carefully has a military hat on, likely being representative of Instructor Bai who took away Miss Yin at the start of the game. After escaping from this creature, we reach the end of part 1, giving us another clue, a page of a counseling record. We will later find that this is Ray's counseling record, and we will see all of these details for ourselves. This reminder of who Ray is transports us to her room, where she reflects on her future. After hearing her parents arguing through the door, she decides to sleep. A message flashes our screen. "If a paper airplane could whisk my dreams away from here, where I could wake up and find myself in a foreign land to start a new life, oh how wonderful that'd be." Keep this in mind as the paper airplane is a significant symbol that will reappear later. Part 2 begins with us waking up in the auditorium again, but things are different this time. The new enemy for this stage is the Lantern Spectre, a spirit that helps guide souls to the underworld. The school has also transformed, with there being jail cells and prisoners in the basement. Here, there are several notable clues to be learned from the puzzles. Up on the roof, we see a figure that looks like Ray jumping off, confirming that Ray is in fact dead. At this point, we know Ray seems to have ended her own life, but the reason for why isn't revealed until we get another phone call. It says, "Your country appreciates your assistance." We then gather up puppets and watch a play unfold in which a military policeman kills 2 people, one being Wei, and the other we have not yet met. At this point, it is clear that Ray was the one who ratted out Miss Yin, and got several people arrested or killed by the military police, including Wei. The guilt she feels for these actions is the reason she took her own life, and now is stuck in this spirit world. She will need to resolve her feelings of guilt before she is able to move on to the underworld. In the basement, we also see a cutscene in which Wei gives Ray the list. She also inquires about Miss Yin and Mr. Chang's relationship. Mr. Chang being the aforementioned counselor, after which you can pick up the book list, which is just a gun, symbolizing how during the White Terror, reporting someone for reading banned books was basically shooting them yourself. Soon after, Ray walks through a room filled with mirrors and faces Miss Yin. After a brief exchange where Miss Yin asks Ray why didn't she just come talk to her, Ray's reflection shoots her. The final cutscene of this chapter has us seeking refuge before a statue of Justice Cheng Huang, a Chinese deity who will offer his judgment upon Ray. He answers her questions about love, life, and family. This makes a fitting transition to part 3, which takes a more personal look at Ray's life. We are in her room again, but this time we are able to leave and explore the rest of her house. We see her mother crying, and in another scene, a bottle being thrown across the room while chairs and the table move around, representing a fight between her parents. The most important puzzle of this chapter revolves around turning clocks to the right time, after which we catch Ray's dad in the act of cheating on her mom. Immediately after, we meet with the counselor, Mr. Chang, who Ray wants to get to know better. We learn the way she got his attention was by throwing a paper airplane at him. He invites her on a stroll this weekend. These two cutscenes back to back paint a picture that as Ray's home life fell apart, she sought comfort in her teachers, perhaps a little too personally. Next is my favorite puzzle in the whole game. She needs to steal a coin from her father's jacket, then put it in her piggy bank. When she moves forward in time, the piggy bank is broken, revealing a movie ticket, which she then uses to go see a movie with the counselor. The journey to the movie theater is bright and colorful, almost magical, which signifies just how happy this outing made her. During this time, she received the white deer pendant from Mr. Chang, hence why at the beginning of the game she wouldn't leave the auditorium without it. After the movie, we are hit again with the gray of her home, in which a man in the hat goes, "Shh." This is accompanied by a note, "Dad got his hands dirty, but he'll live." Ray is hit with the realization that her dad was taken by the secret police, but perhaps not to her detriment. She gets the feeling as if her mom was smiling, perhaps alluding to the idea that her mom found out about the cheating and purposefully reported her husband. Continuing on through memory lane, now all the fishes are gray. Mr. Chang is a shadow and breaks the news that the counseling process is done, and hopefully she won't be needing him anytime soon. He then tells her to return to class. At night, Ray meets 3 ghosts. The first reflects about her crumbling family. The second reflects about her love for the counselor. And the last reflects that he has now become distant, and she is alone again. This leads to the climax of the story, the big reveal that has been alluded to throughout the game. Ray finds out that Mr. Chang and Miss Yin are in a relationship, or at least they were. The jealousy and heartbreak boils over, and perhaps inspired by her mother ratting out her father, she gets an idea on how to enact her revenge on Mr. Chang. The eyes return and we are flashed with a scene of military officials with blood on our hands. Ray can only say, "A painful recollection. My soul is shattered into pieces. When I cannot pull myself back together and forget everything, I open my eyes and welcome a barren world." The story enters its final stage. An old man walks near and then away. We awaken in the same auditorium spot and meet a shadow of ourself. Our life would vanish, but not our guilt. It's the sin that makes you linger in this world. We soon find a paper that reveals that Mr. Chang is to be executed, and Wei is to be sentenced to 15 years of jail time. Miss Yin fled the country. Nearby, the old man plays the piano before disappearing again, leaving behind what is likely a eulogy for Ray. Finally, Ray confronts the moment. No matter how many times this replays, nothing can be unwound. You can never redeem yourself. And we see Ray telling instructor Bai about the banned book club. Afterwards, the old man sits on the rooftop where Ray ended her life. Our last visit is with the counselor, who reflects before his death. Fine, take my head so that I may join my brothers and sisters in death. But why? Aren't people born to live freely? What happens next is determined by which ending you have earned by completing the puzzles and answering questions. If you have not found enough items or answered questions incorrectly, you will be presented with the bad ending, in which Ray stands atop a chair in the auditorium. Her spirit hangs itself, but cannot escape, for the bridge over the river Sanzu is still collapsed. The cycle will begin again, with Ray's spirit unable to break free. If instead we successfully find the paper airplane, referring to the paper airplane that started Ray and Mr. Chang's relationship, and also answer all the questions correctly, we instead open up the true path. We are presented with an amnesty certificate for Wei, who is revealed to be the old man we were following around. In 1987, martial law ended, after 38 years. Wei reflects, "I thought I would rot in jail. I didn't expect to live past martial law. People say I am a victim of politics. My crime was written off, but my youth is long past. Something lost that can never be regained." Our final action as Wei is to walk to the classroom and sit down. Before us is the ghost of Ray. In this ending, Ray answered all the questions in an honest way, opening up her mind to the truth of what she had done. She finds the paper airplane and is able to reflect. By doing so, she is able to free herself from the cycle she has been trapped in, and finally face Wei face to face. We don't get any dialogue, but I would like to think that the game is trying to point us in the direction that Wei offers forgiveness to Ray. With that, the game ends. Although Detention is scary at times, it is overall less of a horror game and more of a tragic story. Ray, although somewhat responsible for the things she did, was just a kid. She was taken advantage of by her teacher and had no real conception of just how widespread the consequences of her actions could be. But even more than any individual, the one truly at fault for the events that unfolded was the government. No one should be sentenced to death or thrown in jail for decades, simply for reading books. The White Terror might not be known worldwide, but for Taiwan it is a painful memory. It is often said in relation to mass killings that we must remember the past, otherwise we are doomed to repeat it. Ray's story, although personal, could symbolize far more than just the personal guilt of one person. Many nations with an authoritarian past struggle to acknowledge the sins committed under previous regimes. Detention wants us to remember and face these hard truths. Otherwise, metaphorically speaking, our spirits will remain trapped forever. Detention also has a lesson for us going forward. The tactics of authoritarian regimes have not changed. Free speech is still incredibly important, and Taiwan's history is yet another example of just how dangerous it is for it to be lost. And as you go forward in your day-to-day lives, watch out for how those in power can try to silence us and turn us against each other. Never give up on freedom. The people of Taiwan have always fought for their freedom, and you can too. And with that, I think I have said all I have to say about Detention. If you enjoyed the video, remember to like and subscribe. Thank you to my subscribers and Patreon supporters, and see you next week.